So what all things you know about Oracle Apex already?
I have created workspace and tables form something like this small.
Yeah. So one more thing, like I would really appreciate if you could just create one workspace. I hope you have already created, right? In
I have
Oracle
already
Apex.
workspace. Yeah.
Yeah. So it going forward from the next session, we will use your workspace because whatever examples I will create, so
Uh-huh.
it will be saved for you to be used in the future. Because if I create
Yeah.
one application in my workspace later on, I may delete it due to
Yeah.
the
Okay.
storage constraints and all.
We'll
So
have the
I would.
backup, or I will create also. Yeah.
So you create a workspace for yourself and share the credentials with me for so
Okay.
long as this training is going on. So
Okay.
at the end of the training, I will share you the PPTs and whatever necessary codes are there, and along with
Mm-hmm.
uh, those applications are already there in this workspace, your own workspace. So later on, you can change the password and all. So
Mm-hmm.
so Oracle Application Express, formerly it was known as HTML-DB. It's a tool which is basically used to create web applications. So web applications are the applications which will have several different components, like it may contain reports, forms, uh, some charts, some dashboards, and those all different components can be linked to each other. Like if you can navigate to a form page from a report page, or vice versa. You can see different charts on a dashboard. You should be able to send out emails from that application. You should be able to use any external data source like a web service. You should be able to consume that into a web application and should be able to see the output of that web service. So it should be able to communicate with the external different type of systems. So
Mm-hmm.
that is what a web application is. So Apex helps us in creating such web applications. It is a browser based tool. So we need a web browser, any browser, i.e. Mozilla, Fire, or Chrome, in order
We
to
can say it's cloud based or not.
yeah, it is cloud based. Like you
Yeah.
need not install anything in your local
Yeah.
system. You just need a web browser and
Mm-hmm.
internet connection in order to, if you have access to the database
Mm-hmm.
of that server,
Mm-hmm.
so you should be able to access Apex also. So
Okay.
it was started in 2004. Earlier it was known as HTML-DB. Later on they used this term Oracle Application Express. In short, it is called Apex.
Mm-hmm.
So as I said, you need not install anything in your local system. You just need a web browser and the credentials, that is. Next thing is it is free of cost and licensing is not required. That means
Mm-hmm.
like if you have Oracle database which is 11G onwards,
Mm-hmm.
either standard edition or any edition, express edition, a standard edition, or enterprise edition, Apex is by default available in that, which means like whenever it's kind of add-on thing which Oracle provides with its database. They do not sell Apex separately as such. Whenever they sell a database, Apex is by default sub feature of that. As a feature of Oracle database, they are providing it. It is free of cost, and there's no limitation, like any number of workspaces you can create, any number of users, applications you can create. There is no upper limit as such into this. So the Oracle Apex website, which is mostly used by developers like us, will have several different users. So as the current stats says, like there are 30,000 different users using that website. So that is also a Apex application. It is hosted on a Oracle database, and 30,000 different users, which means like 30,000 different workspaces and 30 and corresponding 30,000 schemas. So it is that much scalable, like it is very powerful. So yeah, that's it. And it is easy to learn and start with building Apex application. And it is also known as low code environment, which means like if in order to create certain component, uh, you need not to spend much time or and effort on coding as such. Uh, as otherwise you would do in any other technology like Java or any other place, you would do several types of coding like front-end coding, back-end coding in order to, for example, in order to create a report, you will create a page in which that report will be placed. You will be writing SQL query, you will be writing you will be creating HTML page, different thing, and you will be creating that connection and all. I'm talking about Java, like you need to create a connection with the database, right? Bridge connection. So all those things are not required here. So it is a low code environment. You just need a SQL query in order to create a report, and other things are like interactively happens. You need not to do any manual coding as such. So you just select, do the alignment, change the heading. That all happens this thing without interactively, without having to write any code. So latest version which is being used is 19.1, which was released in March this year, and it is also available in the Oracle Apex website. So in most of the organization you will still see version 18.2 being used, because the most of the organizations that migration is in progress, and I mean once it is done, by that time there will be a next version of Apex released from the Oracle. So advantages, as I already mentioned, like no cost feature of Oracle database. So this thing is already covered. Application deployment across various environment is very straightforward. Like in order to deploy an application or a single page of it, you it is very simple. Like you will take an export of that page. It will be a simple text SQL file, and you can just import that into that staging environment or production into whatever environment you want to do that deployment. So no need to create a jar file or anything like that. So it is very simple. And installation is like very simple. Like after Oracle 11g onwards, it is by default there, and all the database additions it has it. You just need to configure certain port setting and all, and it is not more than half an hour task to get your Oracle Apex environment ready for you. So it is as simple as that. So next is allows parallel development. Suppose one application is there, as it is kind of hosted on a server. So one application may have several pages, right? So one user A is working on, suppose, page number 10. So uh, so everything here is associated with ID. Application will have one ID, page will have one ID, like this. So user A is working on page number 10. At the same time, another user B can work on the page number 15, and both of these activities can go on independently, so there is no conflict. Suppose user A works on page number 10 and acquires and there is a chance of conflict. So in that case, what user A can do before he starts making the changes, he can acquire the lock on page number 10, because so that whenever user B is logs in to do some change into there, it doesn't allow him to do that. So that is one check provided by Apex that we can make use of to avoid conflicts. Then skills required. This is important. So you need SQL, PL SQL, Oracle DB concepts. These are essential things, because if it is hosted on an Oracle database, it is expected like you should be knowing these things. Other than that, HTML, CSS, JavaScripts, and these things, if you know, it is good, because certain front-end changes you will be able to do more easily if you have even high-level understanding of these scripting languages and tags. So installation steps, it doesn't fall under a developer's domain, because it is a kind of admin activity. But as I said, like softwares are easily available. If you want to install it in your local machine, what you can do, you can download the Oracle Express Edition from the Oracle website, and then just run few commands. You can go to the Oracle website downloads, and there you can download the Express Edition and get the everything, the steps and everything is mentioned. So you can get the Oracle Apex instance in your local machine. architecture. Yeah. So it is a 3-tier architecture, like one tier which is the web browser, the middle tier is the web server, and the third tier is the database. So everything happens here in the form of request. So web browser sends the request through the web server, which is the ORDS, Oracle REST Data Services, and that request is forwarded to the to the database, and database returns the response, and that gets shown on the web browser. So we'll see that pictorial representation of that in the later slide. So this is what I said, like a web request from the web browser is sent to the Oracle REST Data Services, ORDS generally we call it, and it is installed on a web server. It can be a WebLogic server or Tomcat or Jetty. I mean, anything is fine. So, so whatever business logic or processing is happening, it will happen on the database server. So, so that is how it is. So this is high level architecture overview. Like first of all, you have the browser, and in
Mm-hmm.
middle tier you have the ORDS, which is installed on WebLogic, which is the web server, and um, the communication between browser and the ORDS happens through HTTP or HTTPS requests, and the ORDS and the database happens through the JDBC. So this is how this architecture is, and you make I mean, if you have some other data source, like if you're using a DB link or you're using a web server, then well, yeah, web server, then you database will be able to communicate to that. So that is how it is. So now coming to the workspace. So whenever you create an application, uh, the moment you have been assigned credentials and assigned credential in Oracle Apex application, you would be given a workspace. So workspace, what it is, workspace is a place where all the objects on which you are supposed to work on, or you are supposed to have access as a developer, are placed. So suppose there are 10 applications in a workspace, and as a developer you can work on any of those 10 applications. So workspace is like a virtual private database concept, you might be aware of. It is a concept in PL SQL, like uh, there would be it's kind of imaginary partition created into the database, in which objects in this private database is not visible to outside this thing. So one user can have access to multiple workspaces, and similarly one workspace can have multiple users. So it's kind of many to many relationship. And so as I said, like everything in Apex happens through ID. So workspace is also having ID. So first of all, we have the DB server, right? At the top
Mm-hmm.
of the hierarchy, we have the DB server. Inside that, we have several workspaces. And inside one workspace, we have several applications. Under that, we have several pages. So except DB server, a workspace or an application or a page, every every one of these will have an ID. For us, application name and the workspace name only has the meaning. If somebody tells like this is the workspace ID, so that doesn't have much significance for us. But for the database, it is the ID which matters, not the name, right? So every processing will be happening on the ID, but for our reference, we can refer to like go to workspace, name this, open this application like employee attendance application, but everything will be assigned to a particular ID inside somewhere in the background. Okay. So user type. So like there are different type of users assigned to user roles assigned to users who have access to this environment. So there would be three roles primarily, like users, developer, and the workspace administrator, and the instance administrator are the admins. like users are the people who are supposed to use that application. For example, you created one application, so the people who are using that application are the users. Like we use that uh, any IRCT site or any ticketing site, we are the end users. So that is one role. Then we have the developers. So developers are the people like you and me who will be creating pages, websites, and all those things. And we will also be able to see how it looks like. So we need both roles. As a developer, we need users roles also and developers roles also. Okay, it's kind of dual roles which is assigned to developers. Then we have the workspace administrator. So this guy is responsible to create what do you call new users, providing them the credentials, so resetting the credentials and different things, allocating the different workspace for them, mapping the schema for them. So these things are there. And instance administrator are the people who would manage this Apex instance, like table space and all those things. He will be responsible for that. So users who would use this application, developers who can develop the application as well as use the application. So by default, they will have the users role automatically. So workspace administrator is the guy like who you would be approaching to in order to create one user for you. So an instance administrator is the person, is a typical DBA guy who would be monitoring different stats of that instance. So he's a DBA in plain and simple language. So this is the workspace login page. I can open it here. I can open it in the web browser also, like uh, one minute. Yeah. So this is the workspace login page. So whenever you log in, you will be having this kind of login page generally, where three things are required, like the workspace name and the user ID and password. So as a developer, you would be having user workspace name as an additional information. Had you been a user, you need not have you are not supposed to provide the workspace name. That is only for the developers, so that they can log into that respective workspaces. Then this is the landing page wherein you will land. So let me quickly jump back and show you how it does look. How does it look like? Uh, are you able to see the web browser?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the workspace landing page. If I log out from there, so this is the workspace login page, as I said. So this is for the developers and the workspace administrator I told you, right? So if you
Yeah.
just add admin after this URL is for the workspace administrator. Sorry, Apex admin. This URL is for the workspace administrator. So as he is the workspace administrator, and for all the workspaces, he need not have to provide the workspace name. Okay. So for us, we will concentrate on the workspace landing page, a workspace login page, which is this. Once we log in into this, we will be, this is the home page of this workspace, wherein you will have app builder, SQL Workshop. There are some team development features, app gallery, other information. So this place is most important, where all the applications should be placed. App builder is the short form for the application builder. SQL Workshop is a place where you can do SQL related activities like running some scripts, browsing some objects, DB objects. And there are some important stats like what all apps are being used more frequently, who are all are the most active users, so things like that you can see. and like it can also tell you like how many total applications are there, how many tables are there. So there are several things. So you can going forward we'll see like what they are supposed to do. So let's go back to the slide. So this is the workspace landing page, and now we'll move forward. This we have seen. So this Apex URL. So any typical Apex URL will be of this format. Okay. So first of all, you will have the host name, which is the server name, and this is the PLS Apex. This is some kind of prefix or a fixed URL part of it. This from PLS till F question mark B, it will remain constant for mostly. And after that, the variable things will start, like this, the 4550, for example, is the application ID, and one is the page ID, and a page ID of this application, and this is the session ID. So session ID is a unique ID assigned to a user once he logs into that application. So after that also we have several other things, but those are not mandatory, or they are mandatory depending upon certain cases. Okay, so out of these, only till application ID it is mandatory, because every application will have one default landing page. So even if I don't give the page number here like 1, it will take me to that default landing page. So only till application ID is it is mandatory to provide. Other things it will find out on its own. Okay, so any like this application also is built in Apex only. So you can see like this is the host name. Okay, and this is the application number, and this is the page number. So this page where I'm currently is page number 1500. This is the session ID. This will change every time I log out and log in back again. Okay, any doubts?
No, no, it's fine. Yeah.
Okay, so these are the application builder, this is the application builder homepage, or these are the applications that we can see. So once you click on the app builder, you will be able to see different types of applications. So some of these applications will be would have been created by the users. Some of these are the packaged applications. So packaged applications are the applications which are provided along with the Oracle Apex instance to help the developers to understand certain features of the application. So if I simply go to the packaged application, so from here you can go uh, productivity app and sample app. So you can just create on productivity app. So these are the packaged applications. So these applications are provided along with the Oracle Apex instance. So some of these can be useful, like if you install incident tracking. So suppose you need a similar applications which will be useful to track some incidents. So you can make use of this. So it will not entirely fit into your requirement, but still you can go to the. This is for the productivity, and sample ones are the ones which you can suppose you want to learn something about the web services. So you can just go there, and this application you can install and understand how web service works in Apex. If you want to understand how file upload and download works, so you can just install this one. So these many applications are there. In order to use them, you just need to click on that and install it into your own workspace. So it will get installed along with all the related objects like table, packages, whatever it requires, it will install it. And then you can just go and edit it and run it and see how it works. So this is the app builder. So you have options to create a new application, import a new application or from a different instance, but workspace names should be same. We'll see what all those constraints are. Then we have the dashboard. It will show you different stats like applications, how many applications are there, how many pages are there, how many tables are there, different things. So very high level, I'm telling you, this is the productivity and package depth that I talked about just now. Uh, it will be helpful in order to learn something new. Whenever there is a new version that was released from Apex, they will provide these packaged apps to help the developers to understand how the new feature works or how the new feature can be implemented. So yeah, so this is the SQL Workshop. SQL Workshop, as I initially told you, is basically used to, this is SQL Workshop. If you just click on this tab over here, here you can see the SQL Workshop, wherein you can browse all the objects which are there in the schema, be it tables, sequences, procedure, packages, anything. Then you can go to the SQL command. Here it's like an editor. Uh, it's very plain and simple, but small things you can do it here also. Like if you want to run certain commands, then you can type it over here, select the star, emp emp table is by default provided. So if you
Mm-hmm.
run this command, you will get all the details. Okay, so then you have the SQL script. So if you have a SQL script, you can just upload it, and then you have certain utilities. We'll go through that once we start the SQL workshop session. We'll see all those features. Then RESTful web services. Then you have team development and app gallery. App gallery we have seen, that it's a packaged app. Team development are something like if you are developing a application, you can create bugs into that. You can keep track of that bug if it is being resolved or not. You can create certain tasks. If you want to create some milestone, you can do that also. So this is not very useful because most of the projects will have their own different tools for these purposes. So this is not very useful, but still, I mean, for the knowledge, for the sake of knowledge, these things can be learned. So now let's go back. SQL Workshop, as we have already seen. Then editing one application. So suppose one application we have and we want to edit it. So these are the four applications. This last two are the packaged applications, as you can make out from the name. And the first two were created by customly created applications. So I will click on one of these applications. So once you click it, it will display you all pages that are there in this application. Other than that, there are certain options over here. You can make use of this. You can create a page from here. There's a create page button, and this is the kind of icon view we call it. If you want to have a list view, you can just click on this button. You will have all the pages. These are the pages, and these are the IDs assigned to them. This is the name, and it will show you certain stats like who worked on it last time, and what is the page type, and different things. Yeah, and this is the log thing I was talking about. And if you want to run it, you can just click on this. It will be running. It will run. Or either you can run the application from here, or if you are just interested to run that application, that page independently, you can just click on it and run it. Provided this page can render independently. Suppose it requires certain parameter from a different page. In that case, it may not run independently. So this is the edit page. Uh, so this was the edit application, and then we'll open a page and I will show you. Uh, I will just click on this page name, and this page will open in page designer, we call it, and it has got several components in it, and it is very important to learn like how to navigate from one component to other and how to see the all the properties of a particular component. So uh, the whole page is called as page designer, and the left hand side, this section is kind of page designer summary of everything, like whatever a page is having. Like this is the page, I ran it from this place, and this is an expired one. Okay. So this page will have several components. I will edit this particular page. So whatever component this page is having will be placed somewhere in this hierarchy. So we have pre-rendering, we have the regions, we have the post-rendering. So earlier a page was divided into three sections. One was the page rendering section, one was the page processing section, and third one was the shared component. So what does it mean? Like page rendering, as the name says, it will contain the objects or the codes which are necessary to render a page completely. Okay, so suppose one form page is there and which is basically being used to update certain information. So in that case, I may need a process which will fetch the data from the table and populate different items into that. Okay, so that process
One more
is
question, Prashant. Prashant,
yes,
if
yes.
I fetch from any database, so I need connection, nah?
Connection, see, the connection is already created, like what the
No, if I
default is.
have like SQL or Oracle database, so I want to fetch from these tables direct here, I will do.
See, this is a report page I have created. So
Hmm.
I have created one report and I have written this query. Simple
Yeah.
query. Select a star from department. So which schema it should go, that is automatically assigned. I mean, at the
Yeah.
time of instance setting, it will at that time only it will assign the default schema. So from that schema, it will bring you this table.
No, I mean you fetch this from somewhere, from any database.
Any database, and that database need to be the database to which that
Configure or
Oracle,
fetch.
yeah,
Yeah.
on which the Apex is installed. Or
Hmm.
yes, and one database may have several schema, right? So other than linking the database, you are also supposed to provide one default schema for the Apex instance. So if you are intended to look into some other this thing, right, schema, then
Hmm.
you need to provide the schema name dot the table name. Okay, if we are not providing that schema name, it will hit the default schema.
But for connection, I need some instances, no,
No.
from
Is that
to
connection?
connect to
See,
any
that
database.
that Apex is coupled with that Oracle database, so it doesn't require any credential verification or anything like that.
Or if I
It
have SQL database or like Spark,
it
or
is
something else
it
like
will
this.
run it will run only on the Oracle database.
Ah, okay.
Apex is Oracle tool, and it comes as an additional feature for Oracle database, and it doesn't support any other
Mm-hmm.
database. Okay.
Okay.
So if you have Oracle database which is interacting with any other database using several techniques like web services or messaging or any other thing, then that is a different thing. But it
Mm-hmm.
must come through that Oracle database, and then it can be seen or used in Apex.
Okay.
Okay. So this is the page rendering part, this first section. So earlier the page rendering, then we have the dynamic actions. So dynamic actions, we'll see it later in detail, like the components which are mainly used for the front end kind of event based some process you have to run. For example, like if you have to hide, show something, disable, enable, so those kind of things can happen through dynamic actions. So earlier we used to do these kind of things using manual coding. So as the Apex become more and more advanced, they came up with this dynamic action uh, thing in Apex itself. So it saved a lot of manual coding effort as per particularly in the database the JS side. So earlier the page rendering and the dynamic actions were part of page rendering only, but later on uh, they put this dynamic actions separately. So Then we have the page processing. This processing is responsible to process the data or initiate certain actions. Suppose you created a form and you want to create one employee. So in that case, you will create a process which will read the data from the page, from different page items that you will create and put that into a table. So this kind of the processing will happen when you click a button, or like when you log out, or do I mean, you can link that process with a button or certain actions. So that is up to you. And before processing, you are supposed to validate certain data, like for example, where data is there, it cannot go into a number column. So those kind of validations you will do. Certain fields are there which are kind of not null at the table level, so you will do that not null or blank check on those items before this gets processed. And you would like to create some computations, like suppose salary is there and job band is there, then there's a logic to define the bonus using some formula. So you can create a computation here to create that formula. We'll see how all these things works. So, and once everything is fine, you will do the processing. After processing, I mean, you are not supposed to stay on the same page, right? Either you will be going to a different page, or you would be going to a report page wherein you will see the newly created or updated record. So after processing, that navigation you will define. So all these things will be part of page processing. Then lastly, we have the shared component. Shared component, in short, are the components which are defined at application level, but can be used throughout the application in I mean n number of pages. Same component you can use. So for example, one LOV you want to define for gender, male and female. So there are chances like same LOV will be used in several other pages. So instead of creating those LOVs,
LOV
uh,
means level of
LOV,
validation.
list of values, yeah, that is
Okay.
useful when you have to create a select list, for example, select list your drop down. So in that case, you will need that LOV definition. So instead of creating this LOV in different pages, you will create that at shared component level, and you can refer that in different pages. So it will save your effort. So suppose one LOV is there which is being fetched from a table. So, and tomorrow there is a new value which is getting inserted. So in that case, what happens, you can just create a shared component LOV which will use the SQL query, and this change will be reflected on all the places where that shared component is being used. So you need not go into individual pages and change the LOV, so that it displays the newly added record. So that is the advantage of shared component. It's not only limited to a list of values, it will have several other things. We'll see that. And this is the layout. So this is kind of blueprint of your page, how it look like. So it will have the different regions, breadcrumbs, page header, navigation, other things. This is the layout, or like the high level blueprint, like how your page will look like. You can get some idea of the alignment of your different items and how to work on them. Then this is the component view. Earlier, the Apex application used to look like this before this preview came. So all the processes, validations will come, whatever you are seeing here, right? The same thing can be shown in this format. But once people became more familiar with this tree kind of structure, this became less popular day by day, and without like going forward, it will be removed completely. Then we have messages. So messages are kind of compilation messages you will get here. Suppose you created a query, you created a you created one item, for example, a text field. Okay, but the definition is not proper. So the moment you click on save, it will tell you what is missing and what needs to be provided additionally. Okay, so this will help you in that. Then we have the page search. If you are looking for certain thing, a string or an item or anything, you can just put it here and search for that. Or else, if you want to search in the entire application, you can use this search feature, which is coming at the top. So here, if you put, it will search for the entire application or entire workspace. So, but this page search will be valid only for this particular page. Then you have the help feature. Suppose you one attribute is there. Suppose this SQL query is there, and you don't know how it works. So you can just click on it and go to the help window. It will tell you what should be given and how it should be given. So you can see uh, whatever necessary information is there, it will display it to you. And this is the detailed section. Like whatever component you select in the left hand side, you will see the detail of it on the right hand side. Okay, so suppose I select this one, the report. Here it will show the report name, title, and the location of the source, like the SQL query. Other things also are there, like the conditions, security, read only, these things are there. So that is how you can navigate from this left hand side to the middle section to the layout and to the right hand section, which is the detail. And then you have few things here, like if you, this is page 6, right? And if you're modifying this page, then you're supposed to acquire a lock of it. So you can just click on this. It will, you can provide some comment, you can put a lock, it will get locked. It is locked, it is coming in
No
different
one
color.
can change or make changes.
Yeah, so no one will be able to make this change, and he will
Mm.
be able to see the
Mm.
message you have given. So the moment you are done with this, you can just unlock it. Okay,
Okay.
and then you have the undo and redo button.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to revert something, you can just click on it. This plus icon is basically used to create a new page. So in this page, from this page, you want to create a new page at this page. So you need not go back to the application and then click on create page button. You can just click on the page, this thing, new page. You can click do it from here. Then you have this wrench icon. This is basically a utility kind of thing, which is useful. Like if you want to delete this page, you can just delete it. You want to take export of this particular page, not the entire application, you can make use of this export app, this export thing. So that is how it is. And then this is the shared component. This is the application shared component. This shared component that you saw, this is the application shared component. uh, it will have all the shared component declared in this application. And this shared component here will show you the shared component out of that previous list, uh, which have been used here in this page. So this is the parent one. It will have all the shared components, and this section is the, will show you what all shared component out of this have been used. Okay, then you have the save button. Like after you make some changes, you are supposed to click on the save. You can also click on the run button. It will save and run. Okay, then you have certain profile related settings here, preferences you can select, but this is not important. I mean, at this point in time, we should be focused on more on like how to create pages and all. But certain things are important here. Like if you want to go to the documentation, you can click on it. Discussion forum, there are several forums. OTN, a very popular network where you can go and search for certain topics. If you are kind of struggling with it, there would be it is quite possible, like you will find your solution there, things like that. And this is what this is related to administration. We'll see that later. And change my password. You can change it password from here or from the login page also. So that is how it is. Let's go back to the slide. So edit application we have seen, edit page we have understood, like how different sections on a page work and how do we read components, like from where. This is the component view. Earlier it used to come like this. Tree view, page sections we have seen, like rendering, dynamic actions, processing, and the page shared components. This is the page layout, and the messages are the messages if something is missing, uh, I mean, which should be provided in order to compile your page completely. It will display out here. And this is the search page. If you are looking for a particular item, you can just put it here and you can search that. The help is like it will tell you, like if you are not sure like what this feature is all about, you can just click on the help. It will tell you how it should work. Then create a page. So I told you, like, we can create a page either from here using this plus icon, or I can if I am on the application, I can create a new page from here. It will take me to this page. These are all different type of pages we have. We have blank page, report, forms, master detail, different type of pages we have. So blank page is it will just create a page. It will not have anything, and later on we can add different components in it. So there are two ways. Like, suppose you want to create a report. So there are two ways of doing it. First approach is you create a report directly from here. It will create a page and it will create a report inside that at the same time. Suppose you already have one page and you want to add a report into that. So you can just open that page in the page designer and add a report into that. And the other way could be uh, like you first create a blank page and then you keep on adding different reports into that. So all these approaches are fine. Sorry. So create a page rendering. I told you, like, the page rendering section is responsible to basically render the page completely, or the look and feel for the page. Dynamic actions are useful to create some actions on certain events like page load, change, click, dialog close. And the page processing is for the kind of the processes that are required to process the data. And the shared component, this is the page shared component, the shared component which have been used in this page. And this is the application shared component. So all different shared components will be there. So reports, when we come to report, we have few I mean, some existing reports into that in Apex application. So we can create these many types of reports. This slide is, I believe, version 18, so it is not showing these two and three additional reports. But most of the times it would be first four. Only first four type of reports you will see from previous versions to this versions, or going forward also. So interactive report, grid, classic report, and this report with a form. So these first four types of reports are most common. Other three have been fluctuating. Sometimes they were there and later version they were not there. So things like that. So if you want to create a report, you just click on that and it will ask you all the things interactively. You just provide them and it will create a report for you. So I'll just show you how different report will look like. We'll go into that report detail when we start the report session. So interactive report will look like this. It is basically why it is called interactive, because uh, you can
You can
interact with the
interact
data. You
with
can
different reports. Or
yeah, you can filter the data. You can group the data. You can create a chart also. different options are available. Classic report is simple report where you won't be doing much things, like it will just show you the data. It is useful when you have less number of records because the filter is not given, right? So if suppose you have 1,000 records and you are looking for a particular record, then it will be very difficult to find out that using pagination. So in that case, you should be going with the interactive report. Then this is interactive grid. It is same as the interactive report, but sometimes it can be editable also. So in that kind of scenario, it will behave like a form. So then we have the developers toolbar. So once you run this page, you will be seeing a developers toolbar at the bottom. So if you click on home, it will take you to the home page. Application, this if you click on this, it will edit the application here like this. If you want to edit this page, it will do. If you click on session, it will show you what all session attributes are there, how the different, what all the values assigned to different page items. You can see that. This is for the debugging purpose. Debug, you will using debug, you will enable it first, and then view debug will, you can see the debug. Page information is like different. It will show you the layouts. Like this page is divided into 12 columns. So you will be able to see like this particular report is taking how much of uh, the space. So like this, you can figure out. Quick edit is a very useful feature. Suppose you want to edit this particular header. So you will just select quick edit and then go to the header. It will open that particular attribute of that page of that report. So it has automatically taken me the department name. So I can change something here, save it, and then I can see the change being reflected here. Then we have the theme roller. It is useful in certain scenario if you want to do some changes in the color coding or something like that. So you can do that. So we'll see that later. Then we have this thing. So display location, you can move it to right. You can move it to any position you want. And show icons only. What is this? So if you want to show the icons only, not the name, you can uh, do that. Auto hide is what, like after some time it will become hidden or what, something like that. So this is a toolbar which is very useful for the editor, for the developer. Like you did not come back to the edit mode and do the changes and then go back. You can just edit the page here. You will coming here. You will run the page. You will come here like this. So we have the page modes. Page mode. So in Apex, we have generally three types of pages. One is the normal page wherein you can see the URL, and like this page is this page, this URL is pointing to this page. Sometimes you will have a different type of page which is called this page is called normal page. Okay, so we have two types of pages: model dialog and non-model dialog. So model dialog is what, the moment we click on create page, right? So this page, what we are seeing here, this is a model dialog. It is this URL does not belong to this page. Okay, so this is hidden. The URL for this page is somewhere in the backend. You cannot see it. Okay, so this is called model dialog, and it is opening in the same window. The moment I change it to a non-model dialog, it will open in the, sorry, different page. So once I refresh it, right? Sorry, I will go to the home page first, because model dialog or non-model dialog, we cannot directly run it. So if I click on that employee, it will open a different page. I can say different window altogether. Okay, so this is called non-model dialog. So let me change it back to the normal page. These are the page modes. Sorry. Where it is? Sorry. So now it is normal page where you can see the URL. So only that much I had for this introduction session. So
Mhm.
do you want to spend more time on this, or do you want to connect tomorrow then?
I think
Because
this is
tomorrow,
fine for today. Yeah.
this is fine for today. So I
Yeah.
will share you that on this thing,
Video
download
and these
video,
PowerPoints.
PowerPoint. Yeah, this PowerPoint I will send you immediately, and
Mhm.
video let it get processed, and I'll share that across. Huh?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
And one
bye.
more thing, when we go in the training, then do you have specific scenarios? Like I found somewhere one scenario, like how to create, update, and delete data from a table. Like during Apex, we have created a report or page in Apex, and it will take the data, make,
Yeah,
create,
those
update,
those all
delete. This
scenario we'll
scenario.
see. We'll manually create a report. We'll link a form with that and do the
Mhm.
processing like insert, update, delete. We'll see different things.
Okay.
From next session, we'll start with the report and then we'll see how it goes
Mhm.
forward. Huh?
Okay.
Okay, then
Fine.
I will stop the recording now. Where it is.
Mhm. It's okay. 1 hour. Yeah.
Okay, then see you tomorrow same time, right?
Okay, Prashant. Same, I can't promise